change their business strategy, right? And we were talking about this company a year ago, and I said, look, this is not the Dell computers that you thought. This is an AI story now, right? They're doing the racks. They're figuring out how they're going to manage and utilize AI to the point now they hit a 52-week high today.
Yeah.
Right? That was a company that you wouldn't even think of when you were talking about it. And now there is a craze, so that some companies will not make it, right? We saw Allbirds saying, hey, we're going AI.
Must the bubble. Recession indicator.
That doesn't help our argument, right? When you're talking about a company that didn't really move when they were selling their own product, now going into AI, okay. There's a case there for that.
And then there's also geopolitical risk that we can't account for. Because Trump is liable,
he's liable to do anything.
The Iran thing is still not settled. They just confiscated a ship today, allegedly, in Iran. So they about to hold it straight again. And Israel broke the ceasefire, and FBI directors suing for $200 million. And so the world is still crazy.
Geopolitical, we can't account for, but you can see the maneuvers that are happening to not offset, but to
mitigate a lot of that risk.
Mitigate it a little bit, right? When you start seeing supply chains getting moved, when you start to see infrastructure getting moved, those things are happening. But yeah, some things are out of control.
And really quick, because Rashad, I know you do it. A good tip for everyone here is to ask ChatGPT or Claude, what are the top 100 geopolitical risks that face us until 2030? A lot of people are getting ran into a buzzsaw because you're not researching. Go research. Spend your time doing the work. It's not that many black swan scenarios. There may be 12 or 13 black swan scenarios that can fall in your lap. But the other part is, as the gap between the have and have-nots wider, the greatest beneficiaries of that are the people who own the public equities and the stocks. The gap is getting wider than ever. S&P is at 7,100. Like I remember when S&P was in the 2,000 range. It's at 7,100.
Right. And maybe 4 weeks ago, people were thinking, hey, will this get under 6,000? Have we bottomed?
Yep.
3 weeks later, we've hit an all-time high. NASDAQ is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Longest win streak since, I don't know, what was it?
92.
Yeah, some crazy number.
It's 1992.
Yeah, 13-day winning streak.
Jordan was in Barcelona getting buckets last time we had a run this long. Hold for the long term. A lot of you are going to trade your way to poverty, and I'm begging you. If you don't, I'm being serious, because everyone's playing, okay, even, like I know somebody who's like, yo, I'm playing weeklies. I won't say the asset. They lost 150 grand. I'm like, if you gave yourself time, 5 months, that same trade could have played out in your favor, but the compression of time not being on your side is a terrible thing. And I know it's fun to see the high returns on the trading side, but the foundation has to be the long term. Then you go to the swing trading, and then you go to intraday.
Yeah, I actually went over that a month ago, and I was talking about time decay and how that erodes an options contract, right? When you think about time decay, that's the amount that is going to depreciate on a daily basis. If the stock moves up, it's still decaying. If it moves down, if it consolidates, right? Like we had some NVIDIA calls that the time decay just grew and grew and grew because NVIDIA just consolidated. That short time period. Now, like we don't have enough time to get back positive in this call. So you got to take that into account when you're doing a lot of these weeklies or 1 month, 2 months out. That time decay is a real thing. So make sure you check that number before you do any calls.
Yes, sir. How you say, is it Iran? Is it Iran? How do you pronounce
Iran.
it?
Iran.
I think it's Iran.
Iran.
Yeah.
Iran.
I think you roll the R a little bit.
Iran.
There you go.
There you have it.
Yep.
To the Persian community. Talk about the ETF that you talked about on EYL University last week.
Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody in EYLU again. So memory has been the story. We've been in a number of these companies. Seagate, we've been in Western Digital. Well, I haven't been in Western Digital, but I know a lot of people in the community have. Definitely have been in Micron since it was, I don't know, $100, maybe below that, 87. And definitely SanDisk, which is going up, I think now 1,900%. So a lot of people are trying to get contracts and they're seeing, wait, these contracts are really expensive. Some of them are big boy heavyweights, which means in our community, that means that the contract is over $10,000 for one contract. So it becomes a situation where I can't afford the contracts, even from a short dated standpoint, right? Because if you look at some of the SanDisk contracts out to June, it's $8,000, $9,000. And so we always talk about, okay, well, what can we do and have exposure to some of these stories, these memory stories? And so luckily enough, there was an ETF that was created probably maybe 3 weeks ago now, DRAM. And it's interesting because it gives you exposure to Micron at 23%. But the reason I really like it is because on March 24th, there was a story that came out that SK Hynix, which was the leader in memory. So there's three leaders, right? There's SK Hynix, there's Samsung, and there's Micron. Two of them are from South Korea, one's from the United States. I always said that they're going to make sure that they make American memory great. And that's happened. We've seen Micron appreciate. We don't have exposure to SK Hynix just yet, but they're planning to IPO here in the United States in, I think, mid-June, maybe late May, mid-June. But at some point in the second quarter, they're going to IPO, which gives us exposure to it. Well, if we're thinking that the memory story isn't going anywhere, and all signs have shown that the demand is still there. In fact, Micron is sold out to 2027. SK Hynix is building a new foundry in addition to what they already have to try to meet some of the demand. How do we get to exposure to it now? We get an ETF, right? So the three leading allocations in DRAM, the ETF, it's a round hill ETF. SK Hynix, number one, Samsung, number two, Micron, number three. And then it does have exposure for Seagate, Western Digital, and SanDisk as well. And so if we can't afford those contracts long-term, which they're very expensive, and even the short-term, they're some expensive, we can have some exposure inside the ETF. And so this becomes another one of those ways to invest in a company or have exposure to a company without directly taking on the volatility of how those moves. Because if you've been in SanDisk, trust me, you've dealt with some volatility. But if you've watched how it's moved over the past 6 months, you know, with volatility comes some really high upticks. And we saw that happen over the last 6 weeks. So DRAM is one of those that is now in the portfolio because the memory story is still very prominent. We still believe in it. I don't think this will be cyclical, is what everybody has been saying. In that dot-com era, this was a cyclical sector. Very different now because of demand that's needed, right? Once I see TSM say that demand's going up, that means that entire sector of GPUs, TPUs, XPUs, whatever processing units you can think of, they're going to need memory.
Yeah.
All of them. And so, that's what we covered. And it's relatively affordable. And so, like I said, the ETF just came to the market maybe 3 weeks ago. So we're watching the volume on it, but we do have some exposure to it.
Don't buy them 30s. That's the only thing I will say. The perk 30s, leave the price alone. Let it settle. In both instances, leave the perk 30s in DRAM alone, the perk 30s in real life. Wait for the price to settle. Because some of y'all going to chase it at 35 and get smacked. I don't want that to happen to you. Wait for the price to pull back and you'll be good.
So that's another thing with ETFs. The volatility isn't as great as it is when you invest in some of these individual companies. The reason I really like it, obviously Micron's in it at 23%, is the fact that we have exposure to SK Hynix and Samsung. Well, and we couldn't have that otherwise because it's a company that trades in South Korea and we don't have access to that. So this is the way that we can get access to it before it IPOs here.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Corday. You know, in EY University, we got a thing where if you get 1,000% rate of return, you get a green jacket. It's like the master's green jacket. So in the EYL University app, people have been putting their screenshots of the 1,000% return that they've gotten. And we're creating a green jacket community. And Corday, he's an avid watcher of the show. Salute to him. And Joey Badass is an avid watcher of the show too. Salute to
Joey. Joey tap in every week, yo.
For sure. Yeah. So the green jacket is becoming a thing. And he was like, I might not have got the green jacket on one. He did get a green jacket.
He did get his green jacket.
But he was like, on another one, he's like, I might not have got a green jacket, but I got a jean jacket. So the jean jacket is 500%. That's 500%. So if you get 500%, that's the jean jacket.
Yeah. It was the rapper. That was the rapper. And I know they're going to kill me. I said, DRAM. DRAM, if you're in that community, yes. But for the people who are watching, DRAM. Just call it DRAM. Yes, it's DRAM. Yes, I know. Thank you.
So salute to all the green jacket holders out there.
That's a fact.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And if you didn't put your green jacket percentage, go to the app, screenshot it, show us it so we can send you the green jacket approval. And stay tuned.
We got something special.
Stay tuned.
We got something special planned for the green jacket.
Stay tuned. Numbers on the board. I put my numbers on the board.
Members.
Stay there. Go look at them. I ain't running from them.
Tim Cook has stepped down as CEO of Apple. So that's something that I know you've been talking about a long time, Ian, as far as you advocated for him to leave as CEO. So the day has come. He has stepped down. And obviously that's that's big. He's one of the most iconic CEOs of our generation. Mm-hmm. Apple, one of the most successful companies in human history. Mm-hmm. It's a new day. It's a new day. A lot of people complained about the innovation, the lack of innovation from Apple. So what does Tim Cook leaving mean?
new era for Apple. And I know a lot of you thought from the headlines I was going to come in and gloat, but at first I want to highlight some of the things that he's done, because if you remember the day that Steve Jobs died, I remember my dad calling me. He's like, "Yo, Steve Jobs died. How you feel?" He knew I was an avid fan. The stock was on a volatile tear. So he brought structure to a Steve Jobless company. You got to give him his credit. The first company to hit $1 trillion valuation, $2 trillion, $3 trillion, made that a $4 trillion economy, 1,900% return in 15 years, largest buybacks, partner with Icon to kind of get some of those things in order. Apple Watch services, AirPods, and brought legitimacy to a company that was not well respected upon Wall Street before his tenure. As to the innovation part, shout out to everybody that I've had a chance to talk to at HQ today. One of the greatest parts that's tough about being the leader, and you guys talked about it at the top of the show, is the power of relationships. So if somebody dropped me a little anecdote, I know you were on him about not investing in OpenAI and missing out on Anthropic, but what if hypothetically he was blocked from both? It's telling. He made some enemies along the way that may have prevented him from getting into some of these investments. So, greatest operator in our era, for sure. One of the greatest tech executives ever, built one of the best supply chains ever. I think he's leaving Apple in great hands. He's still going to be executive chairman, which I said he should be. And there's even some rumblings. He's positioned very well to maybe even take over as CEO of Nike in a couple of years. Talk about a hell of a turnaround story that would be if he can leave the legacy and build that infrastructure and take that infrastructure over to a dying American brand. So before I get to my I told you so's, I want to give him credit not only for making Apple a legitimate company, but he was partially responsible for a lot of my wealth creation from when I invested in Apple very early. And I think he faced some headwinds and some challenges that he could not get over. Now that that's out the way. From the bottom of my heart, a lot of times, like, people ask me, like, how did you come up? Even Ty was like, "Yo, you work for an agency?" I was like, "Nah, bro. Like, a lot of this stuff, it just comes from reading and understanding the life cycle. Like, even when I ask you guys media questions, you know something is a hit or not as soon as it's posted. I know I got a hit post when Rashad gets to tap and like early. That's a metric. It's like, oh shit, this is traction, right? The secret to understanding how these things are going to happen in advance is literally just reading all day. And I said it earlier, the other part is prayer and discernment. You guys have it, right? We've met a lot of people that have it who can see things, but some of you are asking, how do you get the secret? It's like, you have to do the things that you need to do every day to be able to get an edge in this market. And the great part with all this information, with Claude, OpenAI, agents, the crazy part is we have more agents available than ever to help you do all the research. And I still see people not doing the research. Not those, Red Panda, not to the earners, but I see a lot of people who are not doing it. So, I think it was time for him to step down. I think there were a lot of challenges that he faced, especially with this administration, that were weighing on him. And I think he's leaving that seat to a very responsible person who's going to take Apple to another level and who'll be able to get some deals done that he wouldn't be able to. So kudos and salute to Tim Cook for leading Apple and stepping down.
No. But you was also very critical of his leadership. You were very critical of his leadership and the innovation, the lack of innovation, and you were very vocal.
And I was the first one on earth to say he should step down. Absolutely.
No, I got that.
Kudos to you.
But let's talk. You gave the respectful eulogy. But let's talk.
What's up? He's going to elevated stage, chairman.
No, I got it. But let's get to that.
They want that same energy.
Let's get to that part of it.
What's the question? I'm learning. I'm an expert. But what's the question? Hey, team, clip. This is where you start the clip.
What were you unhappy about with Tim Cook's leadership? Why did you think that he should have stepped down?
If you're the number one, I think this is a common trait that we all share. All of great leaders share this. I think you have to have an endless amount of paranoia for losing your number one spot. Tim got comfortable. Where was he blocked? So let me go to some of the achievements. Apple Watch, AirPods, amazing. Apple Vision Pro failure, Apple Pay great, Apple Music, Apple TV, iPhone X, iPad Pro, acquisition of Beats from Dr. Dre.
Siri.
And Siri, amazing innovation.
But y'all said Siri was the worst AI. No.
No,
Both of you said that Siri was the worst
question,
AI shit.
Yeah, that's why he said he's not happy with him.
I'm gonna do this.
In an enduring manner of like that was an achievement.
No, it was on his jacket. Like that's on his resume, right? But it's also the reason why you're not the real. Listen, they did.
No. Let me have my little circle moment. Okay, now I'm gonna give you the bit that you want. He didn't fucking innovate and get 59% of OpenAI and 30% of Anthropic like Google did. Okay, you want me to be that leather jacket, all that? Okay, cool, I got you. He fucking failed to do whatever he needed to do at HQ to get significant investment. He missed out on SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI. That's a huge mistake. In addition to, while being one of the greatest operators in the history of Silicon Valley, you thought Steve was toxic? How many people do we know that worked at Apple that have left because they're not happy with the current condition of the company, the innovation, the work-life balance, or the migration of growth in the stock alone? For those you who don't know, a lot of senior people at Apple have left to go to fucking Netflix and Meta and Anthropic. They're all over Silicon Valley. OpenAI. They're losing some of their luster. Now, of course, he had roadblocks from this administration, but some of it, like when people kept saying, well, Apple isn't the first to market. That's not always true. They are selective in which they're first to market in. I also think, shout out to my guy, Drew, we've had this conversation endlessly in Red Panda. We're doing trading calls every day. The innovation behind Samsung, even when I said OpenAI is going to be the iPhone, that's panning to be true because Samsung is one in smartphones. Apple smartphone is losing its luster and market share. So when you miss the biggest investment opportunity that would integrate seamlessly into your operating system, whether it's your phone operating system or Mac OS, if you look at ChatGPT and Johnny Ive leaving, even that, you notice that there is almost no mention or reverence of Steve Jobs except that fucking theater they got over there. That's telling. It's telling that Johnny, who was right hand to Steve, went right to Sam to make the next product because him and Tim were not getting along. It's a fucking mistake. Empires are falling. General Electric fell apart. WorldCom is fall. I'm old enough to remember when AOL was the biggest thing on the market when it went public, and it fell apart in the Time Warner merger. In all of these scenarios, they took their foot off the gas and got comfortable and stopped innovating. And then here comes Nvidia, AMD. Got a whole laundry list of companies. When I see these market caps and valuations change quickly, I'm like, how did you miss on drafting them? Yeah. At one point, Apple had enough cash to buy the majority of the Fortune 500. You put it into bonds. That's why I'm mad. And it cost me greatly. Cost me some relationships there. Got my fucking account locked, but I'm going to tell the truth above anything else. To the audience, I'm going to say, listen the first fucking time.
Listen the first time. Fool.
Listen the first time. You don't have to.
This was the writing was on the wall. I'm glad you said it early. Because after a certain point, the AI lag story, it was so overwhelming that I almost felt it was intentional. Right? I remember being on here saying, you know what, maybe they're smarter than we think. And maybe they're just doing this intentionally because they're watching everybody spend and they have this boatload of money and they're just waiting to figure out what to do with it. And the longer that story played on, I realized that maybe that wasn't the strategy and
that
they
wasn't the strategy.
Did not execute. Which speaks to what and this is important in relationships too, understanding your strong points and understanding your weaknesses, right? So for all the innovation that Jobs had, yes, there were some innovation breakthroughs.
There was a ton of innovation. Like the OS is great.
It's great. And services is his thing. And so when I look at him, I think two things. I look scale and I look operations, right? Because you did take it from a $350 billion company to a $4 trillion company. That talks about scale. Operations. Yes, the hardware was created. iPhone, right? The iPad, all those things. And now how do we make money inside of those devices? You get the App Store, you get iCloud. So he's put those things in place. Where he lacked, and this is, I mean, it's interesting that John Turner is replacing him, is innovation, engineering.
And hardware. Yep.
And hardware. So he couldn't figure out how you're going to integrate AI into hardware, right? Siri. We saw Siri, and this is
the worst AI product probably in the history of the valley.
It is. And the fact that they couldn't figure it out, they tried with the Vision Pro, it didn't work. There was rumors of the glasses, they never came to fruition. Then we started to see them replicate what was already being put out. They're now we're seeing innovation happen before they're created. And so it just became, y'all following. We saw Samsung put out their devices, and it's like, oh wait, we've already seen this. The innovation has stopped. And so this is more of a succession. And I appreciate him stepping down because he's realizing that this is not my strong point. Well, let's put somebody who's in there. So where does John Turnos come in? He is the senior vice president of hardware engineering for Apple. Straight up, right? What did he do? He did one of the most important things in the history of the company. He said, you know that CPU, that company that we used to use, Intel, we're getting rid of them. We're going to create our own chips.
Yeah.
Right? The M1 comes under his watch. Products and services become more operational, more functional under his watch. So he understands innovation. He understands integration. He understands hardware meeting AI. That's where he missed the mark. And did he take his foot off the wheel? Probably. Right. But he brought the company to where it is now. And now it's somebody else's turn. And so the moment that we're at now, and what does this mean for the stock? I think Apple's still going to be Apple, right? You're going to have a new leader. But they have an opportunity here now to say, okay, this guy has brought us to this point with his strengths. Let's bring somebody in who now can take the next torch of the revolution of what Apple will be. How do we integrate AI, which is going to lead us and is leading now, and integrate it with hardware that can be beneficial, that can be innovative, and that can lead us into the future rather than seeing Google continuously do it, Samsung continuously do it, right? Huawei continuously do it.
Yeah.
When are we going to have our story? I think this is the moment where they start that story.
Rashad, you satisfied?
Appreciate it.
Good cop, bad cop. And I will say this, I think he's going to do a great job in handing off tenure and having an amazing succession plan to Apple. And I think Apple is going to see some of its brighter days. And the great part is, outside of maybe his leadership style, there's a bunch of incredibly talented, world-class people who are at HQ that have some amazing ideas. I hope they get off the ground.
That's what this is really cool. It's like, what is the innovation? What's the next gen innovation that Apple will bring to us? It's the most trusted brand that we have, right? We still trust it. People, the products that are sitting on the table, majority of them come from that company. We trust the brand. But what does innovation look like? How do you skew younger? How do you get more people? Like they put out that MacBook, the new MacBook. I mean, it was cool.
It's cool, but it's not. I remember when having an Apple, I remember 2001, Indiana University. I remember when Ty and Kel Spencer from Jersey had the iPod with the touch or some shit. And it was like a luxury item. It was like Cartier's on college campus. Like having an Apple was a status symbol. Now you achieve scale. I think they could have, even think about this. The greatest opportunity for Apple right now still is agents. There's a lot of talk about OpenClaw, Perplexity. The average person doesn't know how to set that shit up. Keys had an amazing episode. The main thing, hey, how can I get the prompt? I don't know what he's talking. How do I set this up? It's like, damn, he's operating at a different level. There isn't one operating system you can plug in now where you can just enter, hey, do all my work for me for the day. That's the innovation they were missing. And with all those go ahead.
Well, I think that they have a clear advantage on that because they have all of the information, all the data already. They have the calendar. They have your email, iCloud. Mm-hmm. They have your how many steps you walk a day with
data. It was a huge opportunity.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They got the map, the GPS map. So they're in prime position. But I mean, they're up 100% over the last 5 years. The stock. So all you guys do is it's Brock Purdy. This is what we call Brock Purdy.
You think it's Brock Purdy?
Game management.
No, we need game exceptionalism.
No. They can't do game management. They're gonna get left behind doing game management. Game management don't win chips.
No.
Game management.
It's never won chips.
No.
Unless you're Trent Dilfer.
We need exceptionalism. That's what delivers to the promised land.
That's what you expect. That's what you expect.
In order to have exceptionalism, you got to be exceptional. No disrespect to this brother, this new CEO.
Oh, okay.
But there's only a few exceptional people in the world, and that's why they're exceptional. There's only a few Mark Zuckerbergs. There's only a few Jensen Huangs. There's only a few Steve Jobs.
There's only a few Sheryl Sandbergs. What made Steve Jobs incredibly great when things started to balance was having Tim at the right side. Tim was a master of operations. You need a master counsel around you. It's not a...
No, I was going to say, here's the cycle repeating itself, right? We had the innovation that led us. Operations came behind it. We need new innovation. They teased the new products. We didn't even talk about it. I sent it in the chat. There wasn't even a word. Nobody was impressed. That's a problem. That's a problem.
The AI agent should be their primary focus.
That's the first thing I've led on.
It shouldn't be relatively too difficult because they could probably have the best one on the market in a relatively short period of time.
But the cost that goes into that, can they produce? They're going to have to spend.
They have the capital.
But then they got to deploy it, right? And if they deploy it, they've watched the reaction to CapEx spend from all their competitors. Look what it's done to Meta. Look what it did to Microsoft. Think about that. Think about what it did to Google.
Yeah.
Look what it did to Nvidia. Every time mega cap company says, hey, we're Amazon, same thing. I know they're rebounding now. We're spending more because we see the demand. We can see where the future's headed. Apple has never participated. They're not even part of the CapEx story.
Yep. Listen, Apple could spend 10% of the cash that they have in the coffers, spend $6.9 billion and not blink. They got $66.9 billion in securities, bonds, and cash sitting. Mm-hmm. You're not Buffett. Deploy that shit.
So maybe that's what he's coming to do now. Like, look, we have ideas, we got innovation. I've saved the company a lot of money, right, by getting rid of Intel. We're going to do this ourselves. But the problem is that method has worked for Google because they have other pieces of the puzzle
and play that they developed.
Right, we're going to partner with Broadcom to get these TPUs out. Mm-hmm. Apple hasn't participated in any of that. So who's using M1 chips? Apple is. Anybody else? Who have they partnered with?
I get keeping it in the house. And also, too, I'll say, I won't speak much on it because I think Tim should have did a better job at managing that relationship with Jensen and Zuckerberg. There's a lot of talk about beef and drama. We don't talk enough about the tech CEO beef. Tim had too many kerfuffles with too many prominent CEOs. And also, they're going to get their revenge back when they sit at the table with the president. His political leanings were not favorable to Trump, but Trump knew he was needed. But it also cost Apple a lot as well, not playing well with the other tech bros.
Yeah,
you have
Fell behind. New markets. We'll see.
Okay. And if y'all don't be in an uproar the next time somebody go take my talking points to CNBC, man, I was mad as hell seeing another dude talking about Tim Cook needs to be fired a year after I said it.
There's a pattern happening here.
For sure.
We still bullish on Apple?
Huh?
We still bullish on Apple?
Yeah, at least until 2034.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still bullish on Apple. Shout out to my man, Dan Ives. He said new price target, 370.
For sure. Yeah. And the great part is he doesn't have as much press to worry about in the interim. He isn't a global icon like how Tim is. He'll be able to focus on the operation internationally and getting Apple back to his lore.
Or he could be a Jassy and just kind of...
But it's different because Jassy has margin constrictions. And the story on the lovability of Amazon is slowly changing due to work conditions. Apple has incredible margins, so they'll be able to...
Yeah, the margins are completely different. That's fair.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Let's talk about market manipulation.
Alleged.
Has the market become immune to the manipulation?
Absolutely. I think even when people say you don't know what Trump is going to do, if you act as a world-class investor, tell me the list of business kerfuffles Trump has had since 1972 and how would they approximate to how he's leading in office today. Claude would tell you every scenario for how this war, China, North Korea, South Korea, BRICS can go. It goes back to doing the work. I know it seems like I'm kind of pulling things out of air at times, but it comes from a lot of preparation. So, and the other part is people only care about the manipulation if they're not benefiting from it. A lot of people are saying, okay, this market manipulation, because they want to find how to get in on the manipulation themselves, going back to capitalism that I talked about last week. So it's priced in. I keep saying the market is permanently rigged to stay up due to quantitative easing, automated investing, BlackRock, Vanguard, and then people want to fight the trend. Don't fight the trend. You just have to be a part of it. But they priced it in. Like, these moves are so predictable now in crude, ES, NASDAQ. They almost are matching and rhyming each other week by week now. So I think the market is caught on and they price it in.
I do think that at some point in time when he's no longer we've never seen market manipulation this obvious and this blatant before. And it's going to change the market, because when the Democrats get back in power, they're gonna implement new rules, regulations on stock trading, on government. There's going to be a whole list of new regulation and rules for stock market trading, because we've never seen the blatant disregard. Like, Pooh Shiesty was disrespectful in his probation. He was very disrespectful to his probation officer about the things that he did. Trump is blatantly disrespectful. It's one thing to manipulate and do these things, allegedly. There's another thing to just be blatantly disrespectful and have no regard for any SEC law, anything. We've never seen this before, ever. No. Never.
No one has.
You could argue 1929 was worse. I'm not doing it.
In modern history. There's going to be repercussions, and there will be changes to stock trading and investing when the Democrats take office.
But they front run that 25,000, real quick, Troy, they front run that pattern day trading rule as a result. And truth be told, if we're going to be honest, they may change the margin required. They're not going to change the structure that is the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, because a lot of their net worth and liquidity are tied into it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what they're going after prediction markets.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gonna go after prediction markets.
Sure.
Crazy. Prediction markets, they definitely 100. That's the first thing they're gonna go after is prediction markets, because that's the easiest thing to manipulate. Because it's not even, you don't even have to have a company tied to it. You could just literally make a bet on something. I 100% prediction markets. I don't think in 4 years is going to be anywhere close to what it looks like right now.
I think it's worse. I agree with you. I had this conversation today. I think somebody is going to, or a bunch of people are going to this is going to be a criminal charge at some point, because, like you said, it's beyond blatantly disrespectful. It's obviously disrespectful when you have people that are making bets, that are investing or trying to invest in things prior to them happening in the market because of the knowledge that they have. I mean, we spoke about this when we talked about Congress having insider trading because they're passing bills for some of these companies, and that felt really, really like unfair. And now you have the president saying, like, the Dow's going to 50,000. Oh, the market's going to have a great day today. Things like it's unprecedented, and it feels criminal because it is allegedly. But I think it gets worse. Because I think, Ian, the point that you're making, the rules will change. And I think that retail investors, we've adjusted to it. We've adjusted to the pattern of ridiculousness in a sense. We've adjusted to it. The rules change. We learn the rules. We figure out how to play. The rules change. We learn the rules. We figure out how to play. They won't interrupt it because they're making money.
They're making so much money off of it.
They're making so much money that they'll try to change the rules, but they won't jeopardize themselves making money. I think greed is always at the root of it. So I think it gets worse.
I think they will definitely interrupt it because it's going to be one of the key things that they run on as far as anti-corruption. And just think about it. They were making money off cigarettes at one point. Everybody smoked cigarettes. They had commercials. They used to have commercials with doctors.
Or doctors on the cigarettes.
And then it just got to a point where they was like, look, we can't, I'm sorry, but it got to go. And they killed the cigarette industry.
And what did those cigarette companies turn into? They turn into food companies.
No, you're always going to rebrand 100%. There's always going to be a rebrand. I'm not saying that. You can't stop the money.
Yeah, they're going. Always
you can't stop the money, but they are going to target prediction markets.
For sure. They can't mess with
the Democrats, when they come into power, because they are going to come into power.
I think they'll try it by state, and that's starting to happen already. I know Utah senators are trying to figure out a way to curb it because they said there's no gambling in the state. And technically it's not gambling, but I mean, it has some similarities to it. So state by state, they'll try to do it. And there'll be a state that says, we're not going for that. We're not going for that. Then it'll be somebody saying, hey, I'm going to turn my VPN on. I'm going to be in that state. It's like what they did with sports betting. Yep. I remember when DraftKings and FanDuel came out and New York would not allow it, but New Jersey did. All right, well, let's get the VPN. We in Jersey.
And you know who
New York,
they're going to allow?
Too much money to not be part